Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to release another Q&A with Australian natural bodybuilder Joel Kellett, where he shares his experience in competing in modern classic bodybuilding competition. And he also gives his opinions and his suggestions on improving classic bodybuilding competition. Joel also talks extensively about his experience with Golden Aesthetics and their physical culture contest, and finally shares his aspirations on running his own competition in the future. Enjoy.
All right.
Go for it.
All right. Another person asks, in your opinion, if the future of bodybuilding competitions will come back to what it used to be, like with more classic physiques?
Do I think it will? Was that the question? Sorry.
Yeah, if you think it will.
I would like it to. I honestly don't think they're achieving that with classic physique, that current division. I think maybe that was their intention, but that's just my opinion. I don't think it's emulating that look in any way. There's enough, like I said before, like I mentioned before, there's a number of different reasons as to why people aren't going to look like they did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I think drugs play a massive role in that. I think drug quality, the kind of drugs, there's new drugs all the time. They're constantly looking for new ways to, or at least what they believe, to progress the human body, but I don't think it looks any better. Like I said, I'd really like it to. I'd like to eventually, maybe even one day, run my own competition, whereby at least there's a little more selective as to who can compete. I find bodybuilding to be the one sport, if you will, that doesn't have, there's no, what's the word? There's no sort of, not that there's no criteria. It's anyone can enter a bodybuilding competition regardless of how they look. I'm just trying to think of the word that it isn't. No prior experience. It's hard to explain. You can't compete, say, in a soccer tournament without trialing for a team.
Mm-hmm.
And even then you're graded. You can't just sort of demand to play in first grade, even at an amateur level. You can't demand that just because you look the part, or even if you don't look the part. It's something you can't ask of anyone. You have to, you kind of have to earn that,
Mm-hmm.
that position. But nowadays, anyone can enter a bodybuilding competition regardless of how they look, and they're constantly creating new divisions to support any walks of life.
Yeah.
Which necessarily bodybuilding. I don't think that it should be. I don't know. I don't think they should. I can understand it. It's to me, I think it's just a money-making thing. Like, why create divisions that aren't necessarily appealing to the audience? Rather, they appeal to the people that can't make it as a bodybuilder. That's why I don't think I would compete again ever, because I'm just not of that standard. I can't compete in classic physique, which in a way is definitely just like bodybuilding, just different. They're just wearing different briefs essentially, and I couldn't be competitive in bodybuilding or classic physique. So I don't see myself competing, at least not in like the IFBB or any one of those divisions that have those categories.
Would you compete in Nick's Strength and Power Mr. Golden Era?
Yeah, that's something I would consider competing in. I think that's interesting. I like the format and the fact that I think a lot of people would feel very comfortable doing that, because you can do it in the space of your own home, or you can take your own time with it. You can. I find a lot of the time, at least based off my experience, when I competed in amateur competitions, you're very pressed for time when it comes to pumping up, or they don't give you enough notice there's not much communication backstage, and or you could be pumping up. There was a competition I did where I think I pumped up for 3 hours, and I was in agony the next day because not only was I pumping up for 3 hours, and they kept us on the stage holding particular poses for far too long. It was like 60 seconds had rolled by and everyone's still holding a front double bicep. Like I was cramping up, and then the next day I was in agony because of the lack of communication. So I think this is a great idea. I definitely feel comfortable doing it. You can present yourself in your best light. It's a good idea. I think that's as close. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No,
I think it's as close as, for the meantime, it's as close as it will get to emulating that look of the 70s, because this is just based off last year's winner, Pete Hartwig.
Yeah.
Who has an incredible physique. He genuinely looks like his physique is of that era.
Yeah, I agree.
Genuinely. And again, because I do believe him wholeheartedly that he is natural, and I think it's present in his physique, because nothing is overdone. There's no noticeable skin irritations or conditions or imperfections. Everything looks nice and clean, not too vascular.
Yeah,
it's a nice look.
Yeah, he's got a very good physique. He looks strong, and he looks like a pleasing athlete. It's there's a vitality, a glow that you can tell. Like when an athlete has this superior physique, and it kind of reflects, I think, what's going on inside. Whereas I find a lot of enhanced athletes, they move slower, they're short of breath. Yeah, I mean, they just, everything looks like a struggle. And these guys look like, they don't, doesn't look right. But when you look at a natural athlete, the way they carry themselves, it looks like you're looking at a lion in the jungle. They just, you know what I mean? They just have this natural strength and glow in them, and it's just like they can achieve anything they want. It's just their body is a reflection of themselves.
They look very healthy and functional.
Yeah,
and that's not even necessarily important to me. I don't care so much about being functional outside of the gym, because I don't have a labor intensive or inducive job, so that doesn't bother me. But it's that image of looking healthy. And I can see it in people that have told me personally that they take X, Y, and Z. They don't look healthy. I don't know if they are. To be honest, I don't know if they are. I haven't seen their blood work or anything, and that doesn't bother me. But to me, because bodybuilding is appearance based, I think to look healthy is important. To be healthy, to look healthy. And that contributes to how well you're going to perform on stage as well.
Yeah.
If it looks like you're struggling to hit poses, which I think is something Arnold spoke about a few years ago.
Yeah.
That he's very tired of seeing, these supposed professional athletes struggling to do their job, essentially.
Yeah. That's
like
a true
soccer player running halfway down the field and running out of breath, that you should be able to run the full field, regardless of what position you're in,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having talked about Nick Strength and Power, Mr. Golden Era, how would you find your experience with the other competition you when you came third in the physical culture competition held in America with Golden Aesthetics?
Yeah. I think, how did I find it? I really enjoyed it. That too, I wholeheartedly support. I really love what he's doing, what he's trying to do. I think, and I think Artemis can agree, he needs more involvement in it in regard to the judging, because it didn't bother me, but he was unhappy with how it was judged. And I think the criteria would need to be changed. Like, the judges could only go off criteria, and it's still essentially very similar to, or the same criteria that any other big name federation uses, which is, in my opinion, it needs that. If that's changed, you're going to get a different result. You're going to get a different winner, and potentially the person that the people want to win, not the winner, the person who ticks the most boxes. For example, someone on stage, they say that shows are won from the back. Well, I couldn't disagree more, because there's multiple sides to a person. So I think if someone has, shredded glutes, for example, why automatically do they win over? And that's what I'm seeing here in Australia. Oh, that guy's got shredded glutes, he wins. Why? That's one. The guy next to him might not lose body fat from that particular area as well as he does. Then say, even in a back double bicep, where this guy with shredded glutes dominates over that one particular body part, the glutes, but his arms might look terrible. His back might look terrible. But it seems to be, at least in Australia, conditioning wins over everything, even though I think gaining the muscle is the hardest part, and having a nice balance of muscle and body fat is difficult. So I don't necessarily think the most shredded guy should win. Definitely not. That's just one of many things to consider. No longer is the total package a consideration, head to toe. Even the style of haircuts, whether they had tattoos or not, even all of that used to be considered.
Yeah.
None of that matters anymore, which to me is stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I see recent bodybuilding photos and shows, because there's a lot of bodybuilders in the gym I go to, and I see they've got some of them. I mean, I know they're taking and whatnot, but some of them have rather pleasing physiques. And they say, oh yeah, I only got 3rd place, or I only got 5th place. And I say, why? I wasn't shredded enough. And I just immediately have that reaction, damn, and I look at the photos and I'm like, man, I mean, the guy that beat you has probably 20 pounds of muscle less. He has no aesthetic lines. He's just shredded. That's it. And that's why he beat you. I mean, I can't believe it. I can't believe the decisions, but that's because I come with a different view of bodybuilding, and that's the problem. Like, I think that the old way of bodybuilding was more of an art form, and now it is just more of who looks freakier on stage. And I just don't think that that's very pleasant at all. I think the as you said, the total package, the haircut, whether you're wearing tattoos, whether when you're posing you are fluid like a ballerina or a dancer, whether your lines, the illusion you create, all these things, even the complexion of your skin.
Yeah,
if you're over tanned, or if you look just, if you're full of vitality there, all of these things should be taken into account. And that's the problem. Like, I think when you look at it back then, physical culture was really the term that was used back then, which encompassed the health of the being as well as their strength and their physique. Now it's just, how shredded is that physique?
Yeah, that's not a culture,
No,
that's not something. That's not something everyone can get, involved in it anyway. Because it's not that it's unrealistic. I think anyone can get shredded, but that's my point. Anyone can get shredded. There's a lot of people that I know, they've had no training experience. They have barely any muscle on their frame. And all of a sudden they're approaching one of the coaches in the gym. Hey, I want to do a competition. Okay. Well, that happens, like they've not gained nearly enough muscle to be, in my opinion, taken seriously, but they'll put themselves through this preparation, lose the body fat, and they look like a prisoner of war walking on stage. But they will most likely win as long as they are more shredded than the guy next to them. And that, to me, is ridiculous, and is a complete waste of time for the people that take it, seriously.
Yeah.
And are serious about building muscle.
Yeah.
And it's that.
Absolutely.
But to answer your question, my experience of the physical culture contest was really good. And again, it was a very relaxed environment. I really encourage anyone especially because I think Artemis is I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I know I would be. He's sort of going out of his way to find, nice, pleasing physiques to have guys come and compete at the next show, and to eventually get sponsors on board and up the prize money. It would be cool to have, first place set at $25,000, which would be, I think, currently $5,000 better than what the classic physique champion in the IFBB receives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be really cool to have more eyes on this, and I think he's going to have more involvement in the judging and potentially change the criteria. And we're going to see, I think we're going to see some genuine, some genuine old school physiques, even to the point of making sort of certain that no one spray tans. I really like that idea as well.
I applaud that. I really do. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that whole spray tan nonsense is ridiculous.
I hate it.
Yeah. Everyone looks the same. I mean, there's no difference in character anymore. It's just, I don't know. Like the old days where, if the sun was against a group of bodybuilders walking against you, or sorry, behind them, you would see silhouettes, and everyone would be different. Everyone had a character. And I mean, that's what made them stars,
Yeah.
You had loyal followings for Arnold. You had loyal followings for Franco, for Lou, for Zane, because they basically reflected different styles of physiques that different kinds of people associated with. And now it's just, who's the biggest guy? I mean, who's the biggest and most shredded guy? And that's what everyone says. Oh man, he's the freakiest. That's it. He's the freakiest.
Yeah. That's why he deserves to win, apparently.
I don't know.
No, another. I've said it before in a post that the part of the reason I have no interest in competing is because I don't like the idea of standing on stage with what I consider, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's not necessarily the bodybuilder's fault. Because most bodybuilders nowadays will have a coach, someone to even potentially skew their decision of what looks good and what doesn't. Everyone poses identically. Everyone looks identical. Everyone has the same tan by the same company, the same amount of coats.
Yeah.
What it is an assembly line of clones, and I just don't want to be any part of that. And I'm not. But it is a funny story that when me and Brock competed at the Arnold Classic this year, in the beginning of the year.
In Australia?
Yeah, in Australia, yeah.
Cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. I didn't post anything on it. I didn't place. I felt good, though. I felt really good about how I looked, and it's probably the best I've ever looked, and I didn't get a spray tan. I spent a lot of time in the sun leading up to that.
Good on you.
I did feel quite tanned. Obviously not in comparison to the guys that paint themselves black, but I felt comfortable. I didn't feel out of place. I felt confident in what I was representing, bodybuilding as, and everyone else to me looked like clones. And so Brock and I were the only two people that weren't painted black. And I had someone ask backstage who did my tan. And I said, the sun, and he couldn't believe that. He couldn't believe that he did say it looked nice. He said, well, you might get washed out on stage. I said, I don't care. Like, I really don't like the idea of blending in with the crowd. At least I'll stand out.
I was going to say that. You definitely will.
Yeah. And we did. We didn't look pale, but I think Brock's mum put it best. She watched, because it was filmed, the entire competition was filmed. You could watch it live online.
Cool.
She was watching it. She watched it back with Brock and said she was looking at the lineup and asked him why he was the only Caucasian on stage. He said, Mum, ironically enough, everyone on stage was Caucasian. They just don't look Caucasian. To me, that's not good. We're in a silly place in the sport where people think it's necessary to change their race in order to compete. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
tanning.
because the whole idea of being on stage and bodybuilding and displaying your physique is that itself, your physique. And I don't get that mentality that people all do the tanning, because how are you supposed to stand out if you look like everybody else? I mean, you see my point? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're honestly convinced that that's, like I said, it's not any one person's fault. It's just that everyone's following suit. It's a trend that unfortunately, it's the thing is too. I spoke to John, which is Reg Park's son, and he said obviously he would prefer things to go a particular way, but he's not going to do anything about it because this is the way it is, and it's not showing any signs of changing, which is true. But I just think enough people, especially the competitors, enough people need to detach from this idea that they have to do all these things, go on stage, say without a tan, or just presenting themselves, showcasing some personality or something, other than how the guy to their right or left looks. And if enough people do that, we're going to suddenly see much more diversity on stage, and it's going to make for much more interesting and competitive competition. That's why I really liked physical culture. I mean, and like I said, it was so enjoyable. The day of, we slept in, woke up, we laid in the sun, we tanned. The day before, I was laying in the sun too and tanning. Every day leading up to it, I did. And I laid in the sun. We had like a whole row of competitors there working on their tans before the competition. Then we laid by the pool and listened to John talk for a while, and had Denny Hester come and help some of the guys with posing. And then we went back to the house we were staying at, where the stage was set up, and started pumping up. Like, it was definitely the most comfortable I've ever felt competing. There was, you didn't feel rushed or stressed about your tan running or any of that nonsense. And I definitely recommend it to anyone wanting to compete. That's the competition to enter.
Cool. That's awesome. All right.
Now, if you're interested in purchasing Joel and Brox's ebooks, please visit www.modernmuscle.com.au, where you'll find ebooks on the following body parts: biceps, chest, back, legs, and I think deltas coming soon, as well as their Naturally Transforming the Body ebook, an excellent ebook really detailing the journey of both of these fantastic natural bodybuilders. And of course, they also have an excellent package for nutrition plans and training programs, all available on www.morethanmuscle.com.au. Now, if you're interested in following Joel Kellett on his Instagram, you'll find him under Overkill. That's his actual Instagram account, and you'll find that he's got a real cool page full of nostalgic style photos and films. So if you're a real fan of old school bodybuilding and classic physiques, this is a great Instagram. Overkill is his actual Instagram account, so you can follow him there. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the old school techniques and methods of the silver and golden era champs such as Don Howarth, Steve Reeves, Chuck Sipes, and many more, please visit my website www.goldenerabookworm.com, where you'll find out of print books and courses on old school bodybuilding. So I do hope you've enjoyed watching this video with Joel Kellett, who actually came third in the very recent Mr. Golden Era of 2020 run by Nick Strength and Power. Hope you've enjoyed his views on modern classic bodybuilding and how he shared his experiences with golden aesthetics. If you've enjoyed watching the video, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm, leave me your comments, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to support Joel, you can visit his Instagram account, Overkill. He's just started as well his YouTube channel, also called Overkill, and these will be given in the descriptions below, and you can always visit his website, morethanmuscle.com.au, to purchase many of his ebooks, where he and his friend Brock, actually, who are both in the US currently, explain exactly how they achieved their natural physiques. Once again, hope you've enjoyed watching the video. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now.